Let's talk, Tom, about Donald Trump and American elections, because he's starting to pull away a bit from Kamala Harris in the polls, certainly in the swing states. But an interesting story dropped yesterday afternoon where, you know, the story of all the Labour Party apparatchiks going over to help Kamala Harris's campaign. Apparently, Donald Trump now thinks that that's illegal and wants to sort of investigate legally whether he can take action against them.
No, absolutely. It's a huge story. They've actually made a formal complaint, the Trump campaign, to this Federal Electoral Commission about essentially what they're calling foreign interference in their election. There was at least 100 sort of Labour apparatchiks who seem to have organised this trip out to the US to campaign. They're saying that they paid their own way, that this isn't anything organised under the banner of the Labour Party. But it is going to, obviously, at the very least, you'd think this is the sort of thing that Keir Starmer, knowing that one of these two candidates, however he feels about Donald Trump, is going to be the leader of the free world, that maybe this kind of thing, even if it had been going on for some time, which I dare say it probably has in previous elections, not a great idea.
It's really
but
not.
his
and also,
willingness to walk into this.
And they say that it's not organised, but there was a tweet that was put out, wasn't there, by this woman who's since deleted it, asking for 100 people to go out. And it's all very well to say it's voluntary, but, you know, obviously there will be things that are paid for them. For example, presumably they'll have their food provided to them. You wouldn't be expected to pay for your own food, I don't think. And I think they've been giving some kind of accommodation allowance. Morgan McSweeney was also there, apparently, Democratic National Convention, and he's embroiled in a separate story, which is weird, where it seems that he's the chief of staff of Keir Starmer's Downing Street, but he's also director of a couple of organisations, one of which is called Centre for Countering Digital Hate Limited, who Elon Musk is currently saying he's going to be at war with, because they've said, or he's found documents from some investigation which have them saying that they want to try and shut down Elon Musk's Twitter account and shut down Elon Musk from being, you know, able to say what he says. And
it's also incredible that this Labour government, among the many other mistakes it seems to have made, is to make an enemy of the richest man in the world. It's one of those things where I'm not saying they should kowtow to whatever he wants to say, but their willingness to kind of engage in this sort of pantomime beef with him and others is coming back to bite them because of the the fact that at some point they're going to push back. And that's what we're seeing now.
And there's another organisation called Labour Together Limited, which McSweeney was also a director of, which was fined by the Electoral Commission for what you might call irregularities over some donations that they got. So there's another area of murkiness suddenly emerging around the chief of staff in Downing Street. And while we're at it, what about Sue Gray? We started asking the questions yesterday. Other people are now saying, where is Sue Gray? You know, she was meant to be starting this new job in charge of regions and nations, and they had their first meeting. She wasn't at it.
No, absolutely.
And nobody's seen her since.
I mean, where is Sue Gray? If anyone's seen her, please call it.
On holiday or something, you know, let us know. She's apparently still taking her break, so we shall see. The other big story, I think, today is this one about public sector enabling people to, if public sector organisations are having to pay more money in national insurance, which is going to be Rachel Reeves' next big tax raid, they'll be refunded. So it means that basically we now have two-tier national insurance. So if you pay national insurance as a company and you're private, you will be punished. But if you've got a public sector organisation like the NHS or like the teaching unions or anything like that, you get to reclaim the money. It's outrageous, isn't it?
And it's one of those things that is just going to strike people as unfair. You can kind of understand it from the perspective of we're needing to raise this revenue to put it into the public sector, so why would we then take it back out of the public sector unnecessarily? But at the same time, it's just going to remind people that this hike is in the offing, and that as much as Rachel Reeves likes to pretend that this is essentially something that's falling on business, ultimately it falls on the worker, as we know. So it's just going to remind people.
Well, it's going to take
a grim
more,
budget to come.
It's going to take more money out of the private sector coffers, so that they won't be able to give people pay rises. It's going to cost them more money to employ people, so they'll employ fewer people. You know, they'll put more people probably on contracts which are not requiring them to pay national insurance. It's obvious what's going to happen. You know, we can all see it, and then 6 months down the road, everyone's going to go, "Oh, we never saw that happening."
It's the untruths and it's the spin that will bother people as well. You can't go around saying we are not going to raise taxes on working people, but just do it in a slightly more convoluted fashion. And I think that this government have got no credit in the bank anymore to do things like this. And that's happened remarkably quickly.
Remarkably quickly, exactly right. Have a look at this for the sort of video from the Middle East of the day. This was yesterday, Israel destroying Hezbollah's HQ in southern Lebanon. The reason we show it is because you can actually see, we can just see it falling down there. incredibly sort of targeted strike. There is one version of that video where you can see the missile literally just hitting the building and knocking it down, where, of course, also, it will come as no surprise to anyone to find out that the head of Hezbollah, Nasrallah, had $500 million hidden in a bunker in cash underneath the place.
This is always the story, isn't it? First of all, you know, it's incredible that in such a short space of time you've seen Israel, the IDF, just wipe out the entire leadership class of not only Hezbollah but also Hamas. But every time that you know, the post-mortem takes place or whatever, and they recover from the site that they've just hit, the amount of money in cash in full of suitcases packed. It's just a reminder that these people pose as like these resistance movements on the side of the Palestinians or on the side of the people of Lebanon, and yet they've always been enriching themselves on the quiet and stacking up all their vast wealth in these tunnel networks that they've been building up. So the fact that these are the people who've been lionised even on the streets of London in recent weeks is
and it's
crazy.
Just incredible, isn't it? And the weirdest story of the day, I think, is going to be page 19 of The Sun. Ashes to Ashley, Sports Direct firm is flogging funeral urns. Now, I said incorrectly, as it turns out, that they were being sold for $114.99, which is a lot cheaper than most funeral urns, right? But it turns out they've been discounting them down to 15 quid. So people have been snapping them up. And there's the picture there, Sports Direct funeral urn, if you want to get one.
There we go.
Quite
for a relative
bizarre.
you might not have cared for that much, you know.
Possibly.
Yeah, put them in the Sports Direct one.
Or maybe you buy a few of them and just have a sort of, a job lot of funeral urns, just in case. I mean, it's just bizarre. Anyway, Tom, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed.